Hello, everyone. Welcome to the See the Good podcast. And I'm super excited today to have with me Dr. Pooja Alloju. I'm going to say that wrong. So you say it for me.
Alloju.
Alloju. Pooja Alloju. And I stumbled across her because she just recently wrote a children's book. And I'm going to ask her some questions about that and ask a little more about her practice and what she does. So I'm super excited to have you here and just really looking forward to this. So first of all, I just want to find out a little bit about you. I followed you a little bit on LinkedIn. I followed some of your posts, and I know that you kind of work in conjunction with your brother.
Mhm.
I'd just like to know a little more about how that came about. And he was in it first, but did you have other family in eye care? How did it all come about? Just tell us the story.
Yeah. Well, one, thank you for having me. So I love telling this story because my brother is such a huge part of it. It's only the two of us that really are in eye care. So he is a cornea specialist. He's an ophthalmologist. So he got into this field a good amount before I did. We're about 9 years apart. And so the story is I didn't originally want to do anything in the healthcare. I wanted to do math. I worked for a corporate company called Mathnasium,
Oh
and I
yeah.
worked out in LA. And it was great. I loved teaching math, but it just like wasn't where I needed to be. And so my dad was like, "Okay, well you can come home. I will help you." But he was like, "But I can't give you health insurance because you're 26. You need to find that yourself." And so my brother had just started his practice and he said, "Why don't you help your brother out?" And so my brother needed a technician. And so I worked as his technician and I was like, "I really like a lot of what you do, which is I don't want to do the surgical management." And so he said, "Why don't you look into optometry?" And so I think he had this idea because all of his patients that had corneal transplants or any kind of corneal issues, keratoconus, he was doing the surgical and medical management. But then for the visual rehabilitation, he was actually sending these patients to a colleague, like about 40 minutes away. And so he was like, "Hey, why, this is a lot of my specialty of my practice, and it would be nice if we could keep these patients with us. Do you have any interest doing this?" And so he got me with that colleague, and in school, or before school, I remembered seeing a patient that got a corneal transplant with us, and she was like, "Yeah, my vision has improved." It was from scarring, and she was like, "My vision has improved, but it's not at a functional level." So that's when he sent her to go get a scleral lens, and I actually saw her get it done and she went to 2020. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I wanted to really be able to improve people's vision. And so he was like, "Go to school. If this is still something you're interested in, like you'll have a spot here for sure, no matter what, even if I don't do it." So went through school. I loved it. I was like, I want to do a residency. And so I went ahead and did a year of residency. And then I came back here and now I practice. And I love it.
Okay.
I love what I do. I love working with my brother. It's really fun.
So you had a degree in math before,
Yeah.
and you're like, what's 5, 6 more years of school? Well, that's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's
Awesome.
only because I was guaranteed a job after. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the interesting part about that, I think, is, I come from the optometry side of things
Mhm.
and had been involved with private practice a lot. And so typically in that side of things, when you think about it, you've got, maybe 15, 20 optometrists that are referring to you. And
Yeah.
so, maybe each of those sees one keratoconus person a year or every 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
And where you're at the funnel where they're all at.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so you're getting to see more of it than probably the average, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so that crosses off several of my questions. You answered really well. So what is the biggest challenge when you're fitting scleral lenses?
Um, I would say I think the one of the biggest challenges is I think setting patient expectations. Because fitting these lenses, like some patients are like, "Oh, like I'm gonna regain my eyesight like that." I'm like, "No, it's involved. Like, and especially with patients that let's say they have asymmetric keratoconus, one eye is way more advanced, right? So if they need a scleral lens in that eye, like setting that expectation, you're going to probably feel that lens more on that side compared to the other. So I think setting expectations and really sticking it out with the patient. I've had a couple patients that have come from other practitioners, and one patient was like, "Oh, like the doctor said that this is the best fit." And he had so much like midday fog. Like the inside of his like lens was like yellow, just debris. And I was like, this really isn't. Like we can improve on this. And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the biggest things because doctors are so busy. They're different practices, have different types of modalities. And like I think one of the questions was like, do you feel like keratoconic patients can fall through the crack? And I 100% think that
Yeah.
because we just get into a routine and we don't necessarily think anything's wrong if they're still getting to 2020. Because I had a patient that for 2 or 3 years, routine eye exams. I was just doing glasses and contact lenses for this patient. And mostly recently, this past year, I was like, I cannot get you to 2020. It's like 2025. And I was like, something is weird. And it never dawned on me to get a topography before because he was getting to 2020. Lo and behold, he had keratoconus, and it was just subtly just inching up, you know?
Yeah.
And like it was one of those things that he kind of fell through the crack, but at least I'm glad we're getting it now instead of
Yeah.
when his vision's at like 2080.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think, just my experience of in the regions where I was managing practices, just didn't see a lot of it. So, you you maybe tend to subconsciously avoid things that you're not in a rhythm of doing.
Yeah.
It's like some binocular vision disorders. I became that go-to guy because I kind of like math too. So
Yeah.
I liked figuring out magnification and, can I get this person to fuse,
Yeah.
and so I tended to end up being that optician in a community that other offices would call and be like, hey, I got one here, do your math and let's see if we can get them to see,
Yeah.
and so I can see how that can happen, in some areas where it maybe gets overlooked or they're out of
Yeah.
practice and it's not, in what they feel is their comfort zone. It's a little
Yeah.
outside it sometimes, and
Yeah. I will say
so
because because we live in Dallas, the nice thing is there's so many specialists in the area
yeah,
that I will always give a patient like just be like, hey, like I'm not a double vision expert. Like I can give you this prism, but like there's literally a double vision specialist like right down the road. Like I would
right,
much rather you get, a pair of glasses from them because they're way, way better at it than I am.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, cool. So, when it comes to getting a good fit, I mean, it again, it happens so rare in the offices that I worked in. I can't even remember a case that I helped out on or anything like that. But, I know that, with some of the other specialty lenses, um, we would work with suppliers and they had different policies of making adjustments to lenses for us. And how does that, I know so little about that world. How does that part of the world work with, I know there's such a high cost with these lenses sometimes, and is there a lot of trial and error? Do they work with you at the suppliers? How does that all go down?
Oh, 100%. I think because, especially in terms of like scleral lenses, that it's more of a niche
Yeah,
that these practitioner or these this industry, they understand that it may take a lot of fits. I've had multiple times where the patient is kind of like at the end of the lens warranty, and I'll call them in the consultant will say, "Hey, technically you're out of warranty, but I'll give you this one for free." Like they will help you out um, as much as possible. And a
yeah,
lot of them will also help patients out, which I love because
yeah,
one of the manufacturers that I work a lot with is Valley Contacts, and Valley Contacts has a specific program called the custom Vision Stable Elite program. Wait, Custom Stable Vision Project, sorry.
Mhm.
And we can basically submit patients that, don't have the money to pay for these lenses, but need them, and they will discount the lenses at a
Yeah,
lot, you
yeah,
know?
that's fantastic.
And so it gives them the opportunity. And the thing is we're such a visual society that if these patients can't see, they can't work. How are they going to pay for those lenses? And so
Yeah,
them getting a pair of lenses at a discounted rate gives them the opportunity for next year to have that money for them. Or they
yeah.
also understand the importance in keeping that lens maintained as best possible.
Yeah, yeah, the economic impact, and I was just speaking with some folks at the Vision Council about, how do we better qualify the economic impact of, there's people that can't work, and so that we can get our political leaders to understand, where we need to designate some funds and how it will in turn benefit the economy to, enable some of these people to work. So.
Yeah, I mean, these
eh,
individuals can't work if they can't see. You
Yeah.
know, I had a patient in residency, and I think one of your questions was like, why did you get so involved with keratoconus? And I think this story is probably something that I will like always remember. I had a patient, I didn't see him when he was like shackled, but apparently he was in prison at some point and he needed to be seen. And so my mentor had seen him, but he hadn't at that time, but they were giving me the backstory. And he was just kind of this like rowdy kind of guy. And me and him somehow got along. And I asked him, I was like, how did we get here? Like, what happened? Like, what, like, and he said, I was a graphic designer. My vision started falling apart. I couldn't hold a job down. I couldn't make ends meet. I got into fights, and that's what ended up getting me into jail. And
Wow.
and it was just like, wow, that trajectory I can see. And so when I get like keratoconus patients in here, like I'm like, we need to get you seeing better. We need to keep this stable. Like I don't want what happened to that patient to happen to someone I see in my chair.
Yeah, yeah, that I did not expect that. Like I've like chills here. So
Yeah.
that 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 is really a powerful story, and we don't think about, you know, sometimes we call it the butterfly effect, but what are those little things
Yeah.
that just are a breaking point,
Yeah.
and cause things to just go on a slide. And
Yeah.
with 80% of your information coming in through your eyes, that is really, quite debilitating in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Um, so I want to get to your book, and I want to know more about that. So what was your motivation to write a book? Is it mostly about keratoconus, or is it just
Yeah, it's actually about a bunch of different conditions.
right?
It actually started from Ashley.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, sh- I found her on social media and I loved everything that she was doing about keratoconus. And I think it was just like we were just kind of talking, and I think she mentioned she's like, a lot of people don't know much about keratoconus. I was like, you know what? Like that is like we don't really talk about eye conditions to our kids, right?
right.
And kids have things all the time and you don't want them to be made fun of it or anything like that. So the book is basically it's basic I have a kid, my kid's 2. And so the main
Awesome.
character Kai is he's like looking around his classroom and he sees that all of his classmates have different eyes, one kid wears glasses, one kid when I made Ashley a character. Ashley has thin
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she wears, special contact lenses. I think I have a patient that has retinitis pigmentosa, so she has a cane. I think one girl has a prosthetic eye, and so it's just how all of these people have all of these different conditions, and we just see the world differently, but we all need to see, you
yeah.
know?
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much there that you know, from a diversity perspective, um, but also how much our eyes impact the way we see things.
Yeah,
There's a lot there, and that I just love the whole concept of that. I was super excited. So it's only been a few weeks that I stumbled across Ash, and then because I
yeah,
stumbled across her, I stumbled across you,
yeah,
and so I was just super excited because CareLink. our name Kera, Kera, Kera Link,
Yeah.
is, we had been a nonprofit in the cornea space since like the 60s. I mean,
Wow.
and yeah, and we became Tissue Bakes International, and our founder was one of the reasons why you could donate eye tissue on your driver's license. He
Oh,
pushed for
that's
that.
so
Yeah,
cool.
he went state by state, and then eventually became like a federal initiative. And but it's part of who we are. I come from more of the optometry eyeglass world.
Yeah.
It's such a part of who we are, and I love the exposure that you're giving to these things with your book and with your work, and I just think it's really fantastic. So, what have been the feedback that you've received on your book? I mean, I see some of it on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you're on other socials. I get pretty just on LinkedIn. I don't get
Yeah.
very outside of that, but um, what's the reaction been like with the book?
It's been good, but I don't know if people are just saying that to like inflate my ego. But they
No,
said it's been cute so far, and I mean,
yeah.
everyone has liked it that has told me. If they haven't liked it, they haven't told me. But
Yeah, no, I love everything about it. I love the premise and really, starting the podcast is yeah, we bought the domain name See the Good, and the whole idea of See the Good is, you know, we 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 can put on these eyes sometimes where we're just seeing certain things,
yeah.
and what I love about the book is the different perspectives and the differences in the kids and
Yeah.
thinking about all their different eye conditions. So I think that's really awesome. So last question then, and you may have already answered it. I don't know, but what has been your most rewarding experience as an optometrist? What?
I think it's honestly it's been a lot of my specialty lens fits because I'm really regaining patients' vision who a lot of them have been to other people and they haven't been able to restore that vision. I know I told you that story about
Yeah.
that guy, but another one of the great stories that I had, which was like super heartwarming. One of our patients, she had come in, and this was like it wasn't during residency. It's I think it was like last year. This patient, her vision overall, she had keratoconus transplants. Her vision overall wasn't too bad. She was seeing about like 20/30, 20/40 in glasses. And so she was kind of getting by. And she saw my brother to try to see if he could get any improvement in vision. And he said, he was like, hey, I don't think so, but let me go ahead and let me have my sister come in and try. And so we had her come in for a trial fitting. She brought in her daughter. This patient's maybe like late 60s or early 70s. Brought in her daughter, who's about my age, then brought in her granddaughter. And so we're trying to fit in this scleral lens. She's blinking, it's taking a mess. Like I have my tech in here to help. And then I raised the patient's chair all the way up so that I don't have to bend over. So then I'm putting it in. Her daughter's by her knees, kind of like helping her, like, hey mom, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so we somehow get it in. She gets it in, she closes her eyes, and me and my tech are like, are you okay? Is it in? Is there a bubble? Do you feel okay? And she opens her eyes and she's like has tears in her eyes. And she looks at her daughter and she says, you are so beautiful
Oh, wow.
to literally, and I was like, she is freaking beautiful. And she didn't even realize that.
Wow.
And so she's like, I never realized the amount of clarity like I just didn't have. She's like, I was fine with 20/30 vision.
Right,
But the
right.
fact that I could see all that extra, like that extra, I had another patient, he told me he could see like the pores of my skin. He's like, I'd never seen that before. And I was like, well, today's a bad day,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know.
As time goes on, I've found that presbyopia is a blessing. I'm glad that my wife can't
Yeah.
see up close anymore.
It's good. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
It's good. This is
yeah.
all I need. But
Yeah,
yeah. But I
awesome.
honestly, those interactions have probably been the ones that I will always carry with me forever
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like like I said, vision is so important to
yeah,
us and being able to give that back to somebody, I think means a lot.
yeah. Well, awesome. I appreciate it so, so much. You taking time out of your day, time out of your practice. It's been an absolute pleasure. And your stories were better than I could have imagined. I mean,
Oh, I'm
just
glad.
literally chills from the stories. And your book is on Amazon, right? Can you give us the
Yes.
title of the book and the name real quick?
Yeah, it's My Eyes Are Unique. And it's
Awesome.
under my pen name, which is PJ Kilgore.
Awesome.
Two
Well,
L's.
thank you so much. And I hope to see you at some of the expos or shows at some point.
Absolutely. I will plan on being at one of them, I promise. All
Awesome. Thank you so
right.
much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.